Rain had been falling since dawn in Portland, the kind of soft, steady drizzle that turns everything gray and quiet. I lay curled under my blanket, face turned toward the window where raindrops blurred the city skyline. My mother, Rosa, stood beside my bed in her pink Sephora uniform, concern written across her face. "Sweetheart, again? You were fine last night." I pressed a hand to my stomach and groaned. "It's my stomach, Mom. It feels terrible." "Maybe those cafeteria tacos." She hesitated, watching my expression. My mother had seen plenty of customers fake smiles at work, ... but she'd never learned to see through her own daughter's act. "You probably just need rest," she sighed. "No phone, no tablet. I'll make you tea before I leave." "Thanks, Ma." The moment her footsteps faded down the hallway, I sat up, eyes bright with victory. My sick day had worked. No math test, no cafeteria noise. Just me and the rain. I poured myself cereal, added more sugar than Mom would ever allow, and settled on the couch. I scrolled through my tablet, checking messages from friends complaining about the test I'd just escaped. My best friend wrote, "You're lucky, Mrs. Graves is in a mood today." I grinned and typed back, "Guess my stomach knew the forecast." Outside, the world moved at its usual pace. Inside, the apartment felt wrapped in warmth and quiet rebellion. Mom's note sat on the kitchen counter. "There's soup in the fridge. Rest. I'll check on you at lunch." Her round, careful handwriting tugged at a small corner of guilt that I quickly pushed away. The hours passed slowly, stretching into the kind of peace I rarely noticed when life was rushing. By noon, the rain had thickened, tapping harder against the window. I wrapped myself tighter in the blanket, feeling a wave of contentment. For once, the world demanded nothing of me. No homework. No expectations. Just the rhythm of the rain and the comfort of home. Then I heard it. A faint metallic scrape, followed by the slow turn of a key in the front door. My body went rigid. Mom wasn't supposed to be home until 7. I muted the TV and scrambled behind the couch, pressing myself against the wall. The door creaked open. Boots stepped inside, wet from rain. Then came a woman's voice, low, impatient, whispering into a phone. My breath caught. The voice was familiar. Through the narrow space between the couch and wall, I saw Patricia Alvarez, my mother's half-sister. She hadn't visited in weeks, not since that late-night argument with Mom in the kitchen. Patricia glanced around nervously, as if every shadow might speak. She shut the door quietly and stood still, listening. Then she moved to the coat rack where Mom's light blue trench coat hung. Patricia's hand slipped into her bag and came out holding a small velvet pouch. Deep red, tied with a gold string. She turned it over in her palm, as if weighing it, then carefully slid it into Mom's coat pocket. My stomach dropped. Patricia stepped back, pulled out her phone, and spoke in a hushed, urgent tone. "It's done. Tonight. Bring the police. They'll find it." My fingers dug into the fabric of the couch. "Bring the police." Patricia pocketed the phone, exhaled shakily, and left as quickly as she'd come. For a long moment, there was only the sound of rain again. I didn't move, my heart pounding in my throat. Then I rose slowly and approached the door. Through the peephole, I watched Patricia, walking briskly down the hall, disappearing into the stairwell. I turned back to the coat rack. The blue trench swayed gently where she'd touched it. My mind chased fragments of what I'd heard. "Bring the police. They'll find it." I stepped closer, hand trembling as I reached into the pocket. My fingers brushed the velvet pouch. Fear made me freeze. Whatever it wasn't mine to touch. The apartment, so warm and safe just an hour ago, now felt foreign. I sat down on the floor beside the couch, hugging my knees, staring at the coat that had become something dangerous. Outside, thunder rolled faintly across the city. Inside, the apartment felt heavier with each passing second. For a long while, I couldn't bring myself to move. The rain pressed against the windows like whispered warnings. Finally, curiosity won over fear. I rose carefully and reached into the pocket again. This time, I pulled out the small red pouch. It looked harmless, beautiful even. The kind of thing you'd find in a jewelry box. I loosened the string. A faint sparkle caught the dim light. Inside was a diamond necklace, intricate and bright, even under the gray afternoon sky. But it wasn't the shimmer that froze my breath. It was the clasp. Tiny but distinct, engraved with a cursive G intertwined with a star. I'd seen that symbol before. I grabbed my tablet and searched. Portland Jewelry Store, robbery, G, logo, necklace. Headlines filled the screen. Goldstein and Company, fine jewelry robbed. Thousands in diamonds missing. The article was dated 2 days ago. I scrolled quickly. The stolen pieces included a diamond necklace with the jeweler's trademark G-star clasp. My throat went dry. Patricia had planted stolen jewelry in my mother's coat. For a moment, the room tilted. Rosa Delgado, who worked 6 days a week, was being set up. Patricia's words echoed like thunder. It's done. Tonight. Bring the police. They'll find it. It wasn't just a visit. It was a trap. Panic surged through me. I wanted to call Mom, to scream for help. But no one would believe a 12-year-old. But 12 was old enough to try. I laid the necklace on the table and studied it. My mind worked fast. The police would come tonight. They'd find the necklace in Mom's coat. Unless I did something. Then I remembered the little camera in the door peephole, a safety gadget Mom's friend had installed after someone vandalized the mailboxes. It automatically saved video clips whenever motion was detected. If the camera had caught Patricia entering, there would be proof. Hope flickered inside me like a match struck in darkness. I turned to the front door, staring at the tiny black lens. It looked so ordinary, so small. Yet right now, it might hold everything. I retied the pouch and slipped it back into the coat pocket exactly as I'd found it. Then I sat down at the table and began to plan. For the first time that day, I wasn't pretending. I wasn't playing sick or hiding from trouble. I was facing it, sharp, real, and terrifying. And I made myself a promise. Before anyone else knocked on that door, I would have proof. I sat at the kitchen table, the red velvet pouch open beside my tablet. The necklace scattered light across the linoleum. My hand shook as I held up Mom's old phone and snapped pictures. Close-ups of the clasp, the pattern of stones. I uploaded each one to a hidden folder, labeling them with the date and time. I typed Aaron Goldstein Jewelry Portland into the search bar. A website appeared, elegant and understated. The header showed a smiling man in his 50s. Aaron Goldstein. I scrolled until a link caught my eye. Police are following an anonymous tip regarding missing jewelry. An anonymous tip. My stomach lurched. Then an idea hit me. I opened my school messaging app and searched for Lily Goldstein, a quiet girl from my homeroom. My thumbs flew across the keyboard. Hey Lily, it's Sophie. Are you okay? I saw the news. A few minutes passed. Hey Sophie. Kinda rough. Dad's really stressed. The police think they might have a lead though. A lead? What kind? Some anonymous tip came in. They said one of the stolen things might be hidden at some lady's apartment. Someone named Rosa Delgado. They're doing a search tonight. I stared at the message until the letters blurred. My mother's name. I typed, "That's my mom." A long silence. Then Lily wrote, "What? Oh my God, Sophie. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just a mix-up." I didn't answer. I couldn't. The clock on the wall ticked louder, every second slicing into the time I had left. I opened Mom's laptop and went straight to the security camera files, the peephole camera. I found a small plastic case labeled Peephole Cam HD and flipped it open. Inside was a micro SD card slot. I pulled it out, heart pounding. The label read 2025. If I could view the footage and save it before anyone else came, I might have a chance. Outside, sirens wailed faintly somewhere downtown. I looked at the clock, 1:42. By evening, they'd be here. I whispered to myself, "Oh, Patricia, let's see what you did." I slid the tiny memory card into the laptop slot. The loading icon spun before a folder appeared. I scrolled until one caught my eye. 12:27. I clicked the file. The video opened with a distorted view from the peephole. Wide-angled, but clear enough. The hallway was empty for a moment. Then Patricia appeared, her face pale, glancing left and right before inserting a key into the lock. The door opened. Patricia hesitated, making sure no one was home, then slipped inside. The footage cut, then resumed as she stepped out minutes later. She was on the phone, speaking quickly. I caught fragments. Tonight. She won't know. Police. The clip ended. I sat back, breath shaky. There it was. Everything. The proof I needed. I replayed the footage twice more, then took screenshots. One as Patricia entered, one as she left. The timestamp. I saved them all into a new folder and named it simply Proof. For the first time all day, the fear in my chest gave way to something steadier. Focus. I opened a new browser tab and typed Patricia Alvarez Facebook. Her profile came up. Public. I scrolled through posts until one from a week ago caught my eye. A photo from a diner booth. Patricia, smiling across from a man. Tattoos covered his forearms. I frowned and zoomed in on the tattoos. One of them, a snake coiled around a dagger, looked oddly familiar. I opened the robbery article again. Witnesses reported seeing a man with visible arm tattoos, including a snake design, ... My pulse quickened. I clicked on his profile. Danny Cortez. I typed his name into Google. Danny Cortez arrested in 2018 for burglary and fraud. Later released on probation. The pieces locked into place with terrifying precision. Patricia must have gotten the stolen jewelry from him. And framing Rosa, the sister who always had her life together, would be the perfect distraction. I opened the proof folder and added everything. The screenshots, the links to Danny's criminal record, photos from Patricia's page. Then I inserted a flash drive and copied it all over. When it finished, I ejected the drive and hid it under the rug near the hallway cabinet. The rain outside had turned heavier, drumming against the window like a countdown clock. I checked the time, almost 4. Mom would be home in a few hours, and the police would follow not long after. I stood in the middle of the living room, the kind of stillness that comes when fear gives way to clarity. The necklace gleamed faintly from the table. I whispered to myself, "You're not winning, Patricia." Then I began to move. Patricia's old handbag was still in the hall closet, shoved behind a box of holiday decorations. I pulled it out carefully. Black leather with worn handles. The lining still smelled faintly of her perfume. I hesitated for half a heartbeat before slipping the red velvet pouch inside, tucking it deep into the inner pocket. If the police searched the apartment tonight, they wouldn't find the necklace in Mom's coat. They'd find it in something that belonged to Patricia. It wasn't a lie, I told myself. It was justice rearranged into its rightful place. I zipped the handbag shut and set it back exactly where it had been. Then I grabbed the cordless phone from the kitchen counter and dialed Mom's number at Sephora. It rang twice before her familiar voice answered. "Hi, sweetheart. How's my patient?" I forced my voice to sound weak. "Hey, Mom, I'm okay. Just resting." "That's good. I'll bring soup when I get home." I hesitated. "Are you busy tonight?" "Pretty slow, actually. But I was thinking, Patricia called earlier this week. Said she might need help moving some things." My blood turned cold. "You're going to her house?" "Not tonight, honey. This weekend." "Why?" "Nothing," I said quickly. She hasn't been nice lately." Mom laughed softly. "I know, but she's still family." I swallowed hard. Still family. We said goodbye. I hung up slowly, my reflection faint in the window glass. I crouched by the hallway rug, lifted one corner, and hid the flash drive beneath it. I stood, staring at the apartment, the same one I'd always known, now filled with secrets. I felt small and older at the same time. I whispered into the silence, "I'll protect you, Mom." Then I sat by the window, watching rain lash against the glass. In the distance, a siren wailed faintly. But to me, it felt like a countdown. For the first time in my life, I wasn't waiting for someone else to fix things. I was the one making the move. By the time the rain slowed to a cold drizzle, the sky had deepened to bruised blue. Streetlights flickered to life. I sat curled on the couch, staring at the clock. The rhythmic tick felt like footsteps approaching. At exactly 7:14, I heard the sound I'd been dreading. A firm knock on the door. 3 times. Not Mom's knock. I peeked through the peephole and saw 2 uniformed police officers standing in the hallway, rain dripping from their coats. Between them stood a woman in plain clothes, calm but alert. A badge hung from her neck. Before I could decide what to do, keys jangled down the hall. Rosa rounded the corner, shopping bag in hand, umbrella dripping. She blinked in confusion. "Can I help you?" The detective spoke, polite but firm. "Mrs. Delgado, I'm Detective Park. We have a search warrant for your residence. May we come in?" Mom's face went pale. "Search warrant? There must be some mistake. We received information regarding stolen property. We'll explain everything in a moment." Rosa looked stunned. "This can't be happening." I rose slowly from the couch. "Mom!" The detective gave me a small nod. "Please stay back, sweetheart. We just need to look around." Mom hesitated, then stepped aside. "Fine, you can search. I have nothing to hide." The officers entered, professional and quiet. They began methodically moving through the apartment. Drawers opened, doors creaked, hangers scraped. Mom stood by the wall, watching with wide eyes. "Detective, please, I'm a store clerk. I've never even—" Detective Park raised a hand gently. "I understand, Mrs. Delgado. We're just following up on a lead." I tried to breathe evenly, but every sound made me flinch. Then both moved toward the living room, where Mom's coat hung by the door. Detective Park's tone was calm, almost kind. "It's procedure, ma'am." I stood frozen, watching as one officer reached for the blue trench coat. He slipped his hand into the pockets. "Nothing." He looked at his partner and shook his head. "Empty." Rosa exhaled sharply. "See? I told you." But the search wasn't over. The second officer turned toward the hall closet. "We should check any bags or purses, too." My pulse spiked. The officer reached up and pulled down the old handbag, Patricia's handbag. He unzipped it. The sound of the zipper cutting through the silence was almost unbearable. Inside, among faded receipts, lay the red velvet pouch. The officer froze, then lifted it out carefully. "Detective, you'll want to see this." The room seemed to stop breathing. Mom's eyes widened. "What is that?" Detective Park opened the pouch slowly. When the diamonds caught the light, Rosa gasped. "That's not mine. I swear, I've never seen that before." The officers exchanged looks. The plan had worked. But seeing Mom's face, pale and terrified, twisted my insides. Detective Park studied the necklace, then looked up. Her gaze landed on me. It wasn't a glare or an accusation. It was something else. Curious. There was something in my eyes I couldn't hide. Fear, yes. But also something sharper. Knowledge. Detective Park seemed to notice. "Mrs. Delgado, I'll need you to sit down for a moment." Mom's voice broke. "You don't believe I did this, do you?" "I haven't drawn any conclusion," the detective said softly. "But we're going to sort this out." Then she looked at me again. I looked down quickly, fingers digging into the hem of my sweater. Detective Park closed the pouch and slipped it into an evidence bag. And as the officers began to gather their things, I knew the moment I'd been fighting toward all day had finally arrived. Detective Park guided me gently toward the dining table, pulling out a chair. "Sophie, I need you to tell me something. And I need you to be completely honest, okay? We just want the truth." I nodded, throat dry. "When we found the jewelry, you looked worried. Almost like you knew it was there. Did you?" The words hung between us. I could lie, say I didn't know anything, but the image of Mom's face wouldn't leave my mind. My voice trembled. It wasn't my mom. Detective Park tilted her head. "Go on." I took a deep breath, then let the story pour out. The knock at noon, Patricia entering. The way she whispered into her phone. "Bring the police tonight." My eyes welled with tears as I described everything. The peephole camera, the video, the flash drive, even Danny Cortez and the tattoos. Detective Park listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. Then she asked softly, "You said there's a video?" I nodded. "On my mom's laptop. It shows Patricia coming in today. 12:27. Can you show me?" I rose, legs shaking, and walked to the desk. I opened the laptop and clicked the proof folder. The screen came to life. The fisheye view of the hallway. Patricia glancing around before unlocking the door. The timestamp glowed clearly. The clip continued. Patricia exiting minutes later, speaking on the phone, her tone hard. When the footage ended, no one spoke. One of the officers broke the silence. That's pretty clear. Detective Park exhaled slowly. She used a key. She turned to Mom. Your sister had access to your apartment? Rosa looked up, stunned. Yes, ... Oh my God. She buried her face in her hands. Detective Park nodded once. Get the tech unit. We need to verify this footage and secure a warrant for Patricia Alvarez. I want her in custody tonight. Detective Park turned back to me, her tone softer. You did the right thing, Sophie. You were very brave. Tears slipped down my cheeks. I just didn't want them to take her away. Rosa stood then, crossing the room. She pulled me into her arms, holding me so tightly it almost hurt. Meet Cielo, she whispered, voice breaking. You saved me. I buried my face in her shoulder, trembling with both exhaustion and relief. Detective Park watched us quietly, something softening in her expression. We'll take it from here, she said gently. But I want you both to stay home tonight. Lock the door. We'll call. Rosa looked up, eyes red but steady. Thank you, Detective. As the officers stepped out, Rosa and I stood together in the doorway, watching the flashing lights fade down the wet street. I whispered, Do you think they'll really find her? Rosa brushed a strand of hair from my face. They will. And even if they didn't, we'd still have the truth. That's what matters. I nodded, chest rising with the first deep breath I'd taken all day. Behind us, the apartment was quiet again. But everything had changed. The truth, frightening and powerful, had found its way into the light. And for the first time, justice didn't feel like something that happened to us. It felt like something we had fought for. The call came just after midnight. Mom and I had barely fallen asleep when the phone buzzed. On the other end, Detective Park's calm voice broke the silence. Mrs. Delgado, we have them in custody. Mom sat up. You found Patricia? And Danny Cortez, the detective confirmed. We executed the warrant an hour ago. Your sister was at his apartment. We recovered several items. Both have confessed. Rosa didn't answer right away. She stared into the darkness. Thank you, she whispered. You and your daughter did more than anyone expected. I'll be by tomorrow to finalize this statement. When the call ended, Rosa sat still. I murmured half awake, Mom, what happened? She turned toward me. They found her, Kariko. It's over. Yes, Rosa said quietly. And her boyfriend. They confessed. I simply wrapped my arms around her. The apartment felt different now, still small, but no longer suffocating. The fear that had hung in every corner was gone. What remained was something heavier, quieter. The ache of betrayal. The next morning, Portland was awash in pale winter light. News traveled quickly. By noon, Mom's phone was flooded with messages. One link repeated again and again. An article on the Oregon Sentinel website. 12-year-old Portland girl helps police crack jewelry theft case. The caption read, Quick thinking and bravery by a local student helped police recover stolen property and clear her mother of false accusations. At first, Mom didn't know whether to laugh or cry. That afternoon, Detective Park stopped by. The rain had returned, soft and steady. It's official. Both Patricia and Danny gave full statements. Danny admitted to stealing the jewelry and giving it to your sister to hide. Patricia confessed she planted it here, hoping you'd take the fall. Mom's voice cracked. Why would she do that? We grew up together. Detective Park hesitated. Sometimes jealousy runs deeper than we realize. Patricia said she thought you had the life she deserved. The job, the stability, the daughter. Mom's eyes welled up. I would have helped her if she just asked. I believe you, Detective Park said softly. But forgiveness, if it ever comes, will take time. Detective Park turned to me and smiled gently. You did something extraordinary, Sophie. Most adults wouldn't have handled it half as well. I shrugged, cheeks coloring. I just wanted to help my mom. That's what makes it remarkable. Rosa reached over and squeezed my hand. She's always been brave. I just never imagined how much. As Detective Park prepared to leave, she paused. The Goldsteins wanted me to tell you both something. They're donating part of the insurance payout to a local scholarship fund. They want to name it after Sophie. My eyes widened. After me? Detective Park smiled. After you. When the detective left, the apartment fell quiet again, except for the steady patter of rain. Rosa sat by the window, watching the city blur into silver streaks. I joined her, resting my head on her shoulder. The nightmare was over, but the emptiness left by her sister's betrayal remained. Maybe that hollow wasn't meant to be filled with forgiveness just yet, but with love, with patience, with rebuilding. Rosa whispered, "You saved us, Sophie." I smiled faintly. "No, Mom. We saved each other." And for the first time since that terrible day, Rosa believed it. Spring came slowly to Portland that year. The rain still lingered, but it felt gentler now. In the Delgado apartment, life had settled into a new rhythm. Recovery. 3 months had passed since Patricia's arrest. Rosa still worked long shifts, but she carried herself differently. I had started middle school in March. I joined the student paper and had a new fascination with mysteries and justice. But at home, not everything was healed. Every few weeks, an envelope arrived. Return address, Oregon Correctional Institution. Mom kept the letters in a drawer, unopened at first. Eventually, curiosity or compassion made her open one. The words were full of sorrow. Patricia apologized over and over. She asked if Rosa and I could ever forgive her. Mom read them all in silence, sitting by the kitchen table after work. She didn't cry, she didn't respond. But she didn't throw the letters away either. They stayed stacked neatly in the drawer. Once I found Mom sitting quietly by the window, one letter folded in her lap. "Do you think she means it?" I asked softly. Rosa hesitated. Maybe regret is the only thing she has left. I nodded, thoughtful. Regret isn't the same as sorry. Mom looked at me, this small, fierce girl who had faced down fear and chosen truth. "No," she said gently. "It isn't." A few weeks later, we received an invitation from Aaron Goldstein. When we arrived downtown on a rare sunny afternoon, the store gleamed like something out of a dream. Aaron, a silver-haired man with kind eyes, greeted us warmly. "You must be the Delgados, and this must be our hero." I blushed. "I'm not really a hero." Aaron chuckled. "That's exactly what heroes say." He led us to a glass display case and unlocked it. He reached in and lifted a small box, handing it to me. Inside was a delicate silver pendant shaped like a key. "For the girl who unlocked the truth," he said. My eyes filled with tears. I glanced at Mom, who nodded, smiling softly. Aaron placed a hand over his heart. "You reminded me that honesty still wins, even when the odds don't." We left the store with the pendant around my neck, the metal warm against my skin. Outside, the clouds had begun to roll in again, not dark, just soft, the way Portland always was before a gentle rain. Weeks later came the sentencing. The courtroom smelled faintly of polish and paper. I sat beside Mom in the second row, feet not quite touching the floor. Patricia sat across the room in handcuffs, eyes red, shoulders bowed. She looked older, smaller. The judge's voice echoed through the chamber as he read the verdicts. 14 years for Danny Cortez. 6 years for Patricia Alvarez. Rosa listened silently, hands clasped tight around mine. When the gavel struck, the sound was final. Not cruel, but certain. Justice had spoken. As we stood to leave, I looked toward Detective Park. She caught my gaze and gave a single nod. Not of authority, but of quiet respect. I returned it. Outside the courthouse, the rain had started again, gentle and steady. Rosa and I walked home under a single umbrella. We didn't talk much. That night I sat by my bedroom window, the pendant resting against my collarbone. Below, the city lights shimmered in the rain. I pressed my fingertips to the cold glass and whispered softly, "Some people lie to survive. Others tell the truth to save." The words hung in the air like a promise. Fragile, luminous. From the other room, I heard Mom humming, a tune from when I was small. The sound carried through the apartment, warm and steady, weaving through the patter of the rain. I smiled faintly and leaned my head against the windowpane. Outside, the storm moved on, leaving ripples of light across the wet streets. The kind of night where everything felt washed clean, ready for something new. In that quiet, rain-soft glow, the story of Rosa and Sophie Delgado didn't end. It simply turned the page, from survival to peace, from fear to truth. A small silver key glinted in the lamplight, catching the reflection of a girl who had unlocked far more than anyone could see. Not just the truth, but her own strength,